Good afternoon to you. 3:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on today's program, Richie McGinness joins us at 3:30. I love Richie. We have to, Richie, he's done it all. He's covered all the riots across the country. He's brought a video camera with him. He carried a dying man away from a crime scene. He really has done it all. He's also played men's league hockey with Kash Patel. And he's going to join us to tell us what kind of hockey player Kash Patel is. I think we'll learn a lot about how he might be a director of the FBI as a result of that. We'll see. Andy Biggs is a congressman. He joins us at 4 o'clock today. We talk about the pardon to end all pardons. Gary Shapley, the IRS whistleblower, is here at 4:30. And then Congressman Brad Wenstrup is here at 5:30. We talk to him about his new final COVID report on all of the abuses meted out to us by our government. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Those abuses continue. Biden is in Africa right now. He escaped to Africa right after issuing a pardon for his boy. An 11-year pardon. 11 years. It's dated all the way back to 2014. No explanation given for that. Why was it 11 years? It doesn't matter. Don't pay no attention to that, or the fact that he joined Burisma that very year, the board of it. Biden in Africa today. Biden was there not only to escape scrutiny here in the United States, but also to dole out more money to other countries. Joe Biden today announced that he's giving away $1 billion to Africa in order to help. Here he is. He wants to help African nations rebuild homes hit by natural disasters.
That's the right thing for the wealthiest nation in the world to do. And today, I'm announcing over $1 billion in new humanitarian support for Africans displaced from homes by historic droughts and food insecurity. We know African leaders and citizens are seeking more than just aid. You seek investment. So the United States is expanding our relationship all across Africa, from assistance to aid, to investment to trade, moving from patrons to partners to help bridge the infrastructure gap.
Yeah, there he is in Africa, $1 billion to people displaced by natural disasters. Did he give that speech in Western North Carolina ever? Did he come bringing a giant sweepstakes-sized check to Western North Carolina? We're here to help you. Anything like that? No. As people in, again, Western North Carolina struggle to even make human contact in some cases. It requires horseback to get to these remote areas that have been cut off from civilization now. Anything like that? No, nothing like that. There are people all across Florida, Georgia, North Carolina still picking up the pieces from these awful storms that hit recently. The Biden administration practically nowhere to be found. And in the times that they have gone, what did they do? What did FEMA do? Oh, they skipped the Trump supporters' homes. If they saw Trump signs, well, we have to skip those. They may be a threat to us. We can't talk to them. Yeah. So there he is announcing $1 billion. And Biden doesn't even know where he is. They're giving him these talking points. Hey, go out there. Tell him you're giving him $1 billion. Angola, the African country, Biden got confused while he was there. He thought it was a city.
With you in Angola, a vibrant city, and I look, not the city. The city, I know, is not Angola, but in Angola, in a vibrant city.
He has no idea what city he's in. He's just freestyling it while he's there. Yeah, Biden, he's really bad at this. He's bad at it here. He's bad at it there. Here he is sitting at the meeting table today in Angola. And he had this to say about what it's like being a Biden.
I joked with you earlier when I said, we Bidens are like poor relatives. We show up when we're invited, we stay longer than we should, eat all your food, and don't know when to go home.
Who's that supposed to be more insulting to? Poor people or Bidens? I have no idea what he's talking about. But he does give you his word as a Biden. Whatever that means. I love, how many times has he said that? I give you my word as a Biden. That word is worth nothing. It's worth absolutely nothing. This week, of course, that came into stark relief for not just those of us who know better, But for the people who were still buying the idea that somehow Biden was a decent human being, as everyone is now openly admitting that Joe Biden straight up lied about whether or not he was going to pardon Hunter. He had ruled it out. He had taken it off the table. It's not going to happen. No, 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 he said. And so did Coringe by extension. And you have places like CNN and NBC all saying now that the political consequences are over and that Joe Biden's headed out, well, he lied. He lied about that. Unbelievable. Can't believe he did that. Can't believe he lied. NBC had a report yesterday that a report that they could only deliver after the election was concluded and the political damage was nowhere near the Democrats. They had a report that indicated that Biden's team knew that he was going to pardon Hunter since at least June. Since at least Hunter Biden's conviction in June, they were aware that this pardon was going to occur. In fact, this is what they say in the piece. Quote, "I will not pardon him," he said in June after a jury found Hunter Biden guilty on 3 federal gun charges. The president has discussed pardoning his son with some of his closest aides, at least since Hunter Biden's conviction in June, said 2 people with direct knowledge of the discussions about the matter. They said it was decided at the time that he would publicly say he would not pardon his son, even though doing so remained on the table. The White House responded to this reporting nearly 24 hours after publication to deny this reporting in a written statement from White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre that reiterated Biden made the pardon decision this past weekend. Notice NBC didn't strip the original allegation out of its piece. They just added a poorly worded sentence indicating the White House continues to deny it. But Joe Biden and the people who control him, the people around him, they agreed amongst themselves they would lie to you about whether or not Hunter was going to get a pardon. They said, yes, they were contemplating it. They were definitely thinking about it, but they agreed amongst themselves that we would say publicly that a pardon is not on the table, even though it was. What is that if not deceit? If not a lie that was clearly thought through. They thought it through. This isn't one of those things where they were caught with their hands in the cookie jar and then had to come up with an explanation. They straight up were like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to lie to the American people for months. We're going to lie to them for months. He even did this after he was out of the race. We're going to lie to them for months, and then a pardon will occur. Now, of course, the timeline here is important. Why did he pardon Hunter now? That's because the sentencing was coming up in mid-December. So he wanted to get out ahead of the sentencing. That's why Hunter's pardon came now. Expect a full suite of pardons for all sorts of people coming up at the end of Biden's presidency, at the very, very end, including perhaps Joe Biden's brother Jim, who, again, they're thick as thieves. They're all together in all of these enterprises. And don't be surprised if Jim's also stretches back to 11 years. Now, I will say, I got to wonder, you have to wonder, you think Hunter's relieved that he got the pardon now, not just because of the sentencing, but because of his father's health? Right? I mean, isn't it kind of a gamble to say, well, we'll wait to the end of the presidency? Have you seen this guy in public? He's practically, like, tipping over when he walks around. It's not clear how long the guy's got left. And so Hunter has to be very relieved that that signature got on that paper, and now that's, done, out of the way. Done and out of the way. So the big news out of NBC, now they feel free, they feel very free to tell you, is that that pardon, they thought it through. They thought it through. Jonathan Turley's been reacting to all of this. The attorney, he said on Fox News he's never seen a pardon that looked like this in all of American history. He says it's unprecedented. And it is, once again, a, quote, breathtaking act of contempt for the American people.
The language of this pardon is virtually unprecedented. Yes. I mean, Nixon was very, very broad, but we've never seen anything like this.
But the pardon for Nixon was constrained only to his presidency, only to his term in office. It wasn't 11 years.
He's literally pardoning his son for any crime that he may have committed during these years, everything from money laundering to murder. Now, he could obviously be charged with state offenses, but the statute of limitations have largely run.
It's true. I mean, any federal law, if we found evidence now of child sex trafficking by Hunter Biden, that would be at the federal level, this has been pardoned. It's off the books
on those offenses. So it's a really breathtaking act of contempt for the American people, and it has happened over and over again.
Now, there are a variety of responses to this. You heard Jonathan Turley. Turley has no problem being honest about this. There have been some places like CNN's Jake Tapper, who said yesterday, he was like, who didn't see this coming? Of course a pardon was coming. You didn't expect this? That's how he opened his show yesterday. How could you have missed this? Well, maybe I was watching CNN. That's how I would have missed it. I believed everything that was coming out of your mouths is every time Joe Biden was like, hey, I'm going to pardon the guy. I'm not going to pardon the guy. You just dutifully repeated it without any scrutiny whatsoever. Maybe that's how I arrived at that conclusion. But over on those networks, CNN, MSNBC, there's a variety of responses coming out. Some of them are like, yeah, Joe Biden lied. Others are straight up excuses. Well, if it wasn't for that name Biden, he would have never had to go through this to begin with. Nobody ever gets charged with crimes like this. And, of course, you know, that what was really going on was that they were giving him preferential treatment. They were trying to give him a sweetheart deal to make all of his legal problems go away because he's a Biden. He was making all that money because he's a Biden. He was being paid off by foreign governments because he's a Biden, because of the influence that was being sold. And that, of course, implicates Joe Biden. Very few news outlets interested in probing those questions, which seem to be the most important. But over on CNN last night, they had a woman on called Leigh McGowan, who is just, she's as flagrantly left-wing as it comes, just brazen. No matter what happens, she just apes whatever the left-wing talking points are in a hysterical way. And she's sitting there. Scott Jennings is on screen with her, which is great. Scott deserves all the credit in the world for what he does on CNN as the conservative contributor. And Scott's eyes roll up to touch the moon as Leigh McGowan makes this claim as to why Hunter Biden needed to be pardoned.
I mean, you can defend it, but wasn't it a lie that he was not going to pardon him?
No, I believe the circumstances have changed. I think that we now have a president coming into office who's talking about firing squads, who's talking about running people around the country and making sure that everyone who's his enemy is going to be punished. And Hunter Biden lied about his drug use on a government forum when he was buying a gun. And he failed to file and pay taxes when he was a drug addict. He paid back those taxes with interest. Donald Trump himself was indicted for 17 counts of criminal tax fraud, more than Hunter, and he's going to be the president of the United States.
11 years.
So
you're missing a few things here.
11 years. Firing squads. Obviously, of course, Hunter needed a pardon. Were it not for the pardon, Donald Trump would subject him to a firing squad. Now, by the way, if you were of the opinion that Donald Trump is a dictator who's going to wield firing squads, why would Joe Biden's pardon stop him? Why would that be in it? Oh, shoot, there was a pardon. I guess I can't be a dictator on that guy. It's so stupid. There's no firing squads. So she's either tragically dumb, which I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that's what it is, or she's just lying to you. She knows better and she's lying to you. But this is one of those like left-wing talking points that are just hysterical nonsense. Donald Trump never said he would wield firing squads against American citizens. This was just made up by the media. They piggybacked on Trump referring to Liz Cheney, who loves sending American men and women to war, saying, how would she feel if she had a bunch of guns pointed at her and she was in combat? That's what he said. And so they said, oh, he wants to subject her to the firing squad. No. In fact, he said she would be at war. She would have a rifle in her hands, he said. What kind of firing squad is that? What are you even talking about? So she says firing squads. That's why Hunter needed to be pardoned, in order to stop the firing squads. So in other words, they're handling it very well. The media is really, really doing great right now. Sid is calling in from Northeast Washington, D.C. on line 2. Hello, Sid. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hello. I got a short comment. Back when Hunter Biden reported pled guilty, surprisingly,
Yeah.
I knew then. No trial, no testimony, no evidence, nothing to use against anybody, and a full pardon was coming. That's the reason why he pled guilty, and they knew it then.
Yeah, they didn't want to expose the family to any more public scrutiny, and that's what would happen if it actually went to a trial. So plead guilty, make it all go away, and then when the election's over, Joe Biden steps in. Yeah, you're right about that, and you just saw it play out, Sid.
Exactly. Now, there may be testimony coming up that he's not able to use the Fifth Amendment privilege on, but that's water over the dam. He don't care about that.
Yes. No, that's right. That's right. It's amazing. All right. Thank you, Sid. I appreciate the call on that. Actually, on that front, one of the I forget which committee leader. Is it Jason Smith? Ways and Means. Yeah, Congressman Jason Smith has been doing media, and he says that now that Hunter has the pardon, the Justice Department can no longer claim that it's an active investigation that's precluding them from sharing the information from Congress. That's over. So he says, good. Now we're going to get everything out of you. You tell us everything you know if the investigation's concluded. What are the chances the Justice Department's going to start coughing it all up? Not good. I don't think they're super high. Not until you get a new attorney general in there, get Pam Bondi running the show. Not until you get Kash Patel in there to the FBI. And yes, it's going to be a challenge, including among these goofy Republicans. Washington's a tough town to break through. Trump found that out the first time. He's got a plan this time. All right. Coming up. Speaking of Kash Patel, did you know he's a hockey player as well? We're going to find out what style of hockey he plays, how aggressive he is. Does he check people into the boards? That's the kind of guy we need in the FBI. Richie McGinness joins us next. Hey, good afternoon to you. It's 3:35 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up, Congressman Andy Biggs joins us. We'll talk about the most expansive pardon in American history for old Hunter Biden. Gary Shapley is here, the IRS whistleblower. We'll ask him what he makes of all of the news this week. And then Congressman Brad Wenstrup joins us at 5:30. He's got a brand new report with some really important revelations about COVID, the way the government handled it, and where that damn virus came from. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. My next guest has spent years now traveling to the unrest here in the United States, all of the various riots and upheavals, especially in the summer of 2020. He documented it all and wrote about it in his new book, Riot Diet, One Man's Radical Ride Through America in Chaos. Richie McGinness joins us back on the program. Hello, Richie.
Hello, Vince. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Tell me real quick why you wrote the book and why you documented all of these experiences.
Well, I wrote it because I was one of maybe 4 Americans who witnessed the scope of unrest that I did, from all the BLM protests/riots all the way through January 6th.
Yep.
And I just documented it as a primary source so that somebody could pick it up in 20 years and get a feeling for that one time when the entire country went crazy for an entire year.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it vividly. You were, of course, there the night that Kyle Rittenhouse was on the run from a mob coming after him, and he opened fire against some of his attackers. In fact, the first man that Kyle Rittenhouse turned on, you carried his body to a car and tried to get him to a hospital. Of course, people may remember seeing you actually during Kyle Rittenhouse's trial. You testified during that trial as to your eyewitness testimony. What was it like kind of reliving all of that as you put it together in this book?
Well, it was certain catharsis that took place writing about it. I did not employ a therapist. I just wrote it all down and made sense of the chaos.
Yeah.
But, being both a victim and a witness, I didn't ask to be a victim, but I told police that I felt something pass my legs, and it was certainly an experience that was stranger than fiction, and that's why I had to put it in the book.
The thing that passed your legs, do you know to this day what that was? Was it some kind of like
Yeah,
shrapnel
well,
or a bullet?
Actually, the FBI, the one thing I will thank the FBI for is they were flying a Cessna overhead, and in the court proceedings, they released the footage from the thermal camera that was on the plane, and you can see the heat signature of the first shot that was fired ricochet off the ground. So I think it must have been like some concrete or something that skipped past my legs. But I just told police that I looked down as he was collapsing because I felt something go past my leg.
Wow.
And I didn't know they were going to make me a victim, but so it goes.
Just remarkable. So I've been wondering, I haven't talked to you on this subject, so I'm curious what you think. Did you notice, like I did, that there wasn't a lot of left-wing rioting going on during the election? And in fact, even after the result was called, that there wasn't left-wing rioting taking place. Did that surprise you at all?
Well, I would say it didn't surprise me because it doesn't benefit the incumbent party to have chaos under their watch. So, I wasn't surprised. I did suspect something right after the election, but leading up to it and now, a couple weeks later, I don't think that we're going to see anything anywhere near the levels that we did in 2020 to 21.
Do you have any sense of what you think might happen come Inauguration Day? If you go back to 2017, when President Trump first came into office, we saw chaos in Washington, D.C., a lot of destruction, businesses wrecked. You saw a full-blown limousine on fire out in front of the Washington Post building. What do you think might happen this come around?
Well, I certainly think we're going to have counter-protesters out there, and it'll probably be something similar to what we saw during the Stop the Steal rallies, which is you have all the people who are going to see Trump speak, and then they start to leave the event, and as they go disperse throughout the city, that's when they encounter counter-protesters. And at Stop the Steal 1 in November, we saw basically anybody who was wearing a MAGA hat get attacked inside of BLM Plaza. And I think we could see, some small-scale skirmishes similar to that. And, I hope it all stays under control. But once Trump takes over again, the chaos benefits the non-incumbent party. So,
by the way, you just reminded me. You just mentioned BLM Plaza. I haven't been down there for a while, but the fact that still exists is an atrocity. That is a monument to chaos. That's what that is. And one of the first yes, it's still there. And one of the first priorities of a Republican Congress should be to take control of at least that issue and get rid of it and restore D.C. In that area to like decency instead of celebrating destruction.
And, the irony is in my book, I cover just before they made it BLM Plaza, a guy ripped down the sign on 16th Street, which now says Black Lives Matter Plaza instead of 16th Street. And he had water bottles thrown at him. The crowd was really angry that he was destructive and not peaceful. And then like a week later, they replaced the sign with BLM Plaza.
Yeah, so they endorsed his destruction. Yeah, that's such a smart point. Hey, I want to move on to a different topic, though, with you because I know one of your passions, Richie and I have known each other for years. Richie and I worked together at the Daily Caller. So I was with him and talking to him through a lot of these crazy experiences. But one of the things I always liked about Richie is that he's an aggressive athlete to the point of destruction to his own body. When I interviewed Richie, literally interviewed Richie for the job of coming on and running our video team at the Daily Caller, he had a gash cut into his face. And when I asked him where it came from,
two gashes.
It was big. I believe. Did you staple it shut yourself? I'm still not sure.
No,
clear on how it got healed up.
My brother and my dad are doctors, and I didn't have the opportunity to get stitched up on the kitchen table that time. So I actually went to Northern Virginia, but I did not have medical insurance at the time. So, I had to pay out of my own pocket for that.
Well, we took care of that, the medical insurance. We did hire Richie on.
Yes, you
did. But one of the reasons we liked him so much was because he came with this gnarly hockey injury for his interview. And I thought, well, that's like a great selling point. I love that. This is a go-getter that we're dealing with. So, Richie, you play, I don't really understand it. Just if you can give me a sense of it, men's league hockey in Washington, D.C., what does that consist of? Are you on some sort of skates or are you running around on your feet?
We're on skates, yes. This is men's league ice hockey. There's a couple different rinks in the area. I play in a couple different leagues. And, basically it's called beer league hockey because you go out and play with the boys every week. There's like 6 or 7 teams in the league, and then you just have a couple of brewskis afterwards and talk about whether you won or lost and why.
And do you find, this is going somewhere. There's a news hook to this, I promise. Do you find that that in this league that it's split between Democrats and Republicans? Do people bring politics to it at all?
I wouldn't say they bring politics, but I do cite in the book. I have a little running joke. I'm number 420 on my team.
Of course.
And I do notice, I mean, that's more, that stuff is behind me, but it's more just to see a lot of the federal employees think, it's pretty funny. And some of them actually get pretty angry by the 3-digit number. But I did get in a fight with the league to get that number. So it was the greatest political victory of my lifetime.
Yeah. No, Elon Musk would be very proud of you if he knew that 420 was your jersey number. So you have played hockey, as I understand it, or at least you've witnessed him play with Kash Patel, who is now en route to potentially become the FBI director. Tell us about your experience with Kash Patel and beer league hockey.
Yeah, Kash. So Kash is a defenseman, and he's a very fierce hockey player. He's north of 40 years old, but he still gets out there, and he is not afraid to step up. He's not afraid to rip some clappers from the blue line. And I consulted with some anonymous sources who play on his team, who have played in leagues with him for more time than I've just seen him on the ice, and they confirmed all of those suspicions that he's not afraid to step up at the blue line. Let's leave it at that.
So he's an aggressive player. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, he's an aggressive player, and he's very vocal as well.
How chippy does men's league hockey get in terms of are people full on body checking aggressively?
It gets pretty chippy. People take it way too seriously, and my response to when people want to drop the gloves is always like, dude, do you have a long commute or something? What's wrong? We got to go to work tomorrow. What's going on here, dude? I'm not here to have fun. I'm paying for this.
Wait, how do you resolve? So how do you resolve penalties in beer league hockey? Do you actually have refs and penalty boxes?
Oh, we have refs. Yeah, we have refs, and you get thrown in the box. I'd say there's usually a couple of penalties per game, and it's not supposed to be hitting. There is some contact that's allowed, but inevitably every game gets a little bit chippy, especially in the league that I'm in.
So is Kash Patel the kind of defenseman that you should fear? Is he going to plant a shoulder into you anytime you're coming down the ice?
I think from my experience, he plays within the rules, but he certainly he's not afraid to step up and throw some poke checks, which are totally legal. He's not. I wouldn't say there are a couple of guys in the league who are very notorious for being those kind of guys who get penalties, but I've never seen him get a penalty. So he plays hard, and he's a hustler.
Yeah.
But he's not the kind of guy who's gonna take a swing at your head.
So I honestly think in my career and to a much more limited extent when I was younger in athletics, I do feel like sports is a really good way to get a measure of who a person is in terms of their character, their aggression, their fearlessness. How would you measure Kash Patel? Do you think that he's up to this task based on your experience with him in hockey, at least?
Yeah, and talking with people who play on his team, because I played against him, they value him as a very good teammate. And I think even beyond his performance on the ice, he's from what I understand, a good guy, and they like him as a teammate.
It's pretty cool.
I actually do. I did hear that he saw my Twitter thread. And, the boys on his team were giving him some gruff about, what these anonymous sources, who I will never reveal until the day I die, what they had to say about his play. But mostly positive comments.
Yeah. Well, that's the kind of journalist you are. You would protect your hockey sources in the face of torture. You say, I'm never giving them up. Thank you very much. Richie McGinness has seen it all, from Kash Patel on the ice to the riots across America. The book is Riot Diet, One Man's Radical Ride Through America in Chaos. Richie, thank you as always, and good luck on the ice.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you.
There he is, Richie McGinness, number 420. If you ever see him out there, buy him a beer. Richie's always doing great. Let's see. Paul is calling in from Baltimore now on line 4. Paul, good afternoon, sir. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Paul.
Good afternoon, Vince. First-time caller, long-time listener. Last month, I was reading internet news and read an article from Epic Times.
Yeah.
In it, they mentioned Kash Patel's name. Now, I'd heard this guy's name spoken before, but I didn't know about him.
Yeah.
And so I got the book, started reading, and this morning I finished the book. And I tell you, it is a blueprint for the reorganization and the reformation of the U.S. government, intelligence, FBI, DOD, and it just made me so happy to think that we've got somebody in there who is well qualified. His experience with Ray, by the way, almost matches. They run very, very parallel. The difference is one is good and one is bad.
You mean when you say his experience, you're saying that his resume in a lot of ways lines up with Ray's, except you have a lot more trust in Kash Patel.
I wouldn't trust what Ray says if I could throw him as far as I could throw it.
Yeah.
When he said after the attempted assassination in Butler, after that he should have known better, and he was talking about the plexiglass from the speaker, not the speaker, the teleprompter, hitting President Trump rather than in the air. I just couldn't believe it.
He breathed life into a conspiracy theory. It'd be like saying, if it's like Christopher Wray was sitting before Congress today and you were to ask him, like, hey, what did he say about Liz Cheney? He's like, well, he did suggest that she should die at a firing squad. Like that would be the kind of thing that's an equivalence, because he just was breathing life into a left-wing conspiracy theory, which was not true. And he knew what he was doing. He was doing it before Congress, and it was absurd, and he shouldn't have done that. Well, and that book you're referencing, by the way, Kash Patel's, it's called Government Gangsters, and the left is up in arms about it today because apparently one person on the left can read, and they cracked open the book, and there's a list of all of the people who are a part of the problem. And so, in other words, Kash has a very clear view of who the problem actors are, at least at the upper levels of all of these agencies.
What he has done is he is attempting to bring about holding these people accountable. Now, I won't say that when he wrote the book back in '93 that was his intent, but I'll tell you what, the stars are aligned, Vince. Now, people will say, Republicans, you should not, don't believe in tit for tat and all that. Let's just sort of move on. And, I used to believe that. I used to think that it was always the right thing to do the right thing. And now it's not that I want vengeance, but I want justice.
Well, look, I'm with you. Here's the way to think about this, Paul. I sometimes I hear people make these claims like, well, if they treat us unfairly, we should treat them unfairly. We should live up to a higher standard. Yeah, that's totally fine. Here's what we should do. We should hold people accountable for the sins they've actually committed. If they're breaking the law, if they're working against the American people, they deserve the consequences for doing that. Yeah. And when you have innocent people whose lives are destroyed, or people whose punishments are not commensurate with what they actually did. You walk into a Capitol building and now you're serving jail time? No. That's not the way this is supposed to work. So, in other words, consequences are going to be, should be delivered at least. I can't say they are going to be, but I really hope they will be, because that's the only corrective that's going to get us back on the right track.
Yes, they have destroyed Mike Flynn, an honorable man. They have financially. They have destroyed, or at least hurt severely KT McFarland, who is just brilliant. I'd like to see Trump get her back into the administration. Point being, their actions have destroyed lives.
Unquestioned, and on purpose. That was the whole point. Yes. It wasn't, and in many cases, like Mike Flynn and so many people who've been subjected to this awful system, it wasn't just, if they could end up with jail time for them, that's fine. But in the end, if they could just bankrupt them, if they could scare others from speaking up, if they could make people suffer for being a part of the opposing political viewpoint, that was the goal.
Vince, remember what they said concerning the FBI coming up to your door and knocking on it. They said the process is the punishment.
Yeah, ask Mark Houck. Ask all these guys who've had their lives overturned. Hey, thank you. I appreciate this call. I really appreciate it, Paul.
Thanks.
That's Paul from Baltimore. And at 3 to 6. What happens at 3 to 6? Oh, that's right. That's this show. I'll be at the Fair Oaks Mall on Friday. Please make it out. Say hello. And also knock out some of that Christmas shopping. You've been waiting. You shouldn't wait any longer. You're going to feel like garbage next week if you're looking at your list going, oh, my gosh, I got to do this. Take care of it this week. Spot me Friday. We'll be out there at the Fair Oaks Mall. Fisher House Radiothon starts here tomorrow on WMAL. Don't make those donations just yet. Don't do it today. Wait till tomorrow and do it during this program. I want to dominate the other shows. That's all I ask. Stay with us. Coming up, Congressman Andy Biggs.